Good morning all. We will be continuing with the short notes for the year 2016. Question paper of the year 2016. So today we will be discussing periodontal probe. We should start with the definition of periodontal probe. So what is the definition? Probe is a tapered rod-like instrument calibrated in millimeter having blunt and rounded tip. Probe is a tapered rod-like instrument calibrated in millimeter having blunt and rounded tip. Uses of periodontal probe are periodontal probe, they are used primarily to detect and measure periodontal pocket and clinical attachment loss. They are used to locate calculus and cemento enamel junction. It is used to measure gingival recession, width of attached gingiva, size of intraoral lesion, and to locate and measure furcation involvement. It is used to determine mucogingival relationship and in implant for peri-implant probing. Peri-implant probing is done with a plastic instrument and gold coated instrument. Coming on to the generation of probe. First we have mentioned definition of probe. Then we have mentioned how probing is done in implant and then generations of probe. First, second and third generation of probe was proposed by Philstrom and fourth and fifth generation was given by Watt. Then in order to score good marks, the answer should be accompanied by a good diagram. A good diagram is one that is easy to remember and easy to draw also. So I have taken or I have chosen UNC 15. In UNC 15, it is a tapered rod-like instrument. It is a tapered rod-like instrument and it is calibrated in millimeter. It is having marking at each millimeter up to 15 millimeter and color coding at 5, 10 and 15. So the reading is 1 to 15 millimeter and color band at 5, 10 and 15. First generation instrument are, these are manual instrument or hand held instrument. Second generation are force controlled instrument. Third generation are force automated probe. These are basically computer automated probe in which we can have digital readout. The digital display of data will be there, computer storage of data will be there. Next is probe that measure 2 dimension of the pocket. And fifth generation, the probe that measure the 3 dimension of pocket. Coming on to the first generation probe, advantages and disadvantages. First generation probes are, example, William probe, CPITN probe, UNC 15, University of Michigan O probe, Goldman Fox Glickman, Merritt and Neighbors probe. These are all conventional handheld instrument. Advantages are they are easily available and inexpensive. Tactile sensitivity is preserved even in the presence of subgingival calculus. Probe can be inserted with little navigation by operator because it is manually operated. Tactile sensitivity is there. Tip is rounded to avoid tissue trauma. Color coded for easy and faster identification of reading. Disadvantages, they are heavy. Probing force is not controlled, so the tip of the probe may pass beyond the base of the pocket. Error during visualizing the reading are possible. And assistance is needed to transfer the reading to the chart. Second generation probe or pressure sensitive probe are Yapel probe. Advantages are standardization of probing force is there, comfortable to the patient and constant pressure is there. Disadvantages are probe tip may pass beyond the junctional epithelium in the inflamed site. Reading has to be performed manually and an assistant is needed to record the same on the patient's chart. No computerized storage of data is there. Third generation, Toronto Automated Probe, Florida Probe, Interprobe and Foster-Miller Probe. Advantages are standardization of probing force is there. Error in reading the probe and transferring the data are eliminated. Printout of data from computer can be used for patient education. Disadvantage are tactile sensitivity is decreased. Next disadvantage is overestimation of pocket depth and underestimation of pocket depth. If probe pass beyond the junctional epithelium, if the site is inflamed, then overestimation of pocket depth will be there. And if inflammation has resolved, probe may not penetrate beyond the long junctional epithelium, leading to underestimation of pocket depth. Fourth generation probe, which is under development. Advantages are three-dimensional. It is a three-dimensional probe. Sequential probe position are measured. Disadvantage, it is still under development and it is invasive probe. Fifth generation, they are ultrasonic probes. Advantages are a non-invasive probe that provide painless probing to the patient. There is no question of probe passing beyond the junctional epithelium, as ultrasound wave detect image and map the upper boundary of periodontal ligament. Computerized storage of data as well as printout is there so that we can educate the patient. Guidance path is predetermined. Provide information regarding condition of gingival tissues. Disadvantages, it is very expensive. Operator need to understand the image provided by the computer. Moreover, it requires learning. Coming on to the next question, alloplastic bone graft material. First of all, alloplastic. Alloplastic. Plastic. What's a plastic? Plastic is a material that is manufactured or synthesized in the factory. So they are, plastic means synthetic material. They are synthetic material. They are synthetic, inorganic, biocompatible material that are used to promote bone healing through osteoconduction. Indication are infrabony pocket, furcation involvement, implants, extraction socket, sinus lift, ridge augmentation, guided bone regeneration, and in combination with guided tissue regeneration. Various alloplastic material used in periodontal defect are polymer, tricalcium phosphate, hydroxyapatite, bioactive glasses, and titanium granule. Polymer. It's a polymer of polymethyl methacrylate and polyhydroxyethyl methacrylate in combination with calcium hydroxyapatite, which is available for bone grafting in various periodontal defect. Next is calcium phosphate. Calcium phosphate, the commonly used calcium phosphate ceramic for periodontal regeneration is available in two forms, non-resorbable hydroxyapatite and resorbable tricalcium phosphate. The structure of both are different. Hydroxyapatite. It is similar to the mineral found in the bone. The composition of hydroxyapatite ceramic is Ca10, that is calcium 10, phosphate 4 raised to the power 6 and OH2 with calcium to phosphate ratio in the 1.67. Hydroxyapatite is osteophilic, bone loving, osteoconductive and osteointegrative. Advantage is the immune reaction, they are very minimum or they might be eliminated. That is, reaction with the immune can be easily eliminated. It can get bound to the bone directly through the natural bone converting mechanism. Various forms of hydroxyapatite are coralline porous form, that means coralline, that are obtained from the marine coral skeletons and porites. Next is resorbable non-ceramic hydroxyapatite, which is microporous, composed of very small particle 300 to 400 nanometer or 35 to 60 mesh. Then nanocrystalline hydroxyapatite, FHA biomaterial, which is calcified algae. And commercially available hydroxyapatite is G-bone and Cybograft. Next is tricalcium phosphate. It is porous form of calcium phosphate. The calcium phosphate is available in two forms, alpha and beta. But the alpha form is very less stable as compared to beta. Beta tricalcium phosphate is most commonly used for periodontal defect. Beta tricalcium phosphate, it stimulates bone formation. Human fibroblast has been demonstrated to attract readily to the surface of calcium phosphate ceramic. Commercially available as RTR. Plaster of Paris. It is biologically compatible, porous, as it allows the fluid exchange between the tissues and the tissues so that prevention of flap necrosis take place. I have marked it. I should repeat it. Plaster of Paris. It allows the fluid to exchange, so prevention of flap necrosis take place. That means it prevent necrosis of flap because of the fluid exchange. Plaster of Paris resorption take place incompletely in 1 to 2 weeks. Bioactive glasses. Hydroxyapatite. After hydroxyapatite, bioactive glasses are most commonly used. Bone graft in various periodontal defects. Bioglasses are composed of silica, CaO, Na2O, P2O5. Extensively used in conjunction with medical and dental implant because they produce a mechanical strong bond between implant and adjacent bone surface. What is the mechanism of action of this? When this material came in contact with the tissue fluid, the surface of particle became coated with hydroxycarbonate apatite, incorporate organic ground protein such as chondroitin sulfate, glucosamine glycan, and attract osteoblast that rapidly form bone. So when we put this material in the defect, the particle, the bioactive glasses, it became coated with hydroxycarbonate apatite, which incorporate various organic ground protein, which will attract various chondroitin sulfate, glucosamine glycan, and osteoblast will be attracted toward this, and hence new bone formation will be there. Commercially available as Perioglass. You can draw the diagram in order to explain the mechanism of action. This here bone is there. I have tried to show the bone, the bioactive glass or Perioglass is there, and it get coated after some time with this hydroxycarbonate apatite layer, which attract various growth factor, osteoblast, and hence bone formation will be there. Next is porous titanium granule, the Tigran. The porous titanium granule, their irregular shape, porous granule of pure titanium. The granule are between 0.7 millimeter and 1.0 millimeter. They are mixed with the patient blood or with saline solution. It is potent activator of blood coagulation system, bone healing, and osseous growth promoter. So technique of the grafting, because it's asked in the question. First, patient selection will be there, removal of etiological factor, flap design with a plan for closure, degranulation of defect, root preparation, encourage a bleeding bone surface, condense graft material well, good tissue coverage, proper suturing, periodontal dressing, and post-surgical care. And if you have enough of time, you can draw the diagram of a defect. Periodontal defect is there. On the opposite side, I have tried to show the healthy periodontium. On the other side, defect is there, and we have shown the graft in position. Now, next short note is prognosis. Prognosis is prediction of, to predict what will happen in future. It is the prediction of probable course, duration, and outcome of the disease. So, we have to predict well in advance what will be the course of the disease, what will be the duration of the disease, and outcome of the disease, provided you should have adequate general knowledge of the pathogenesis of the disease. and the presence of various risk factors associated with the disease. So definition of prognosis is, it is the prediction of probable course, duration and outcome of the disease based on the general knowledge of the pathogenesis of the disease and presence of various risk factors. Prognosis is established after the diagnosis is made and before treatment is planned. Factor for determination of prognosis. They are overall clinical factor like patient age, disease severity, plaque control and patient compliance. And environmental factors like smoking, systemic disease, genetic factor and stress. Local factors: plaque, calculus subgingival restoration, anatomic factor, short tapered root, cervical enamel projection, enamel pearl, bifurcation ridges, root concavities, developmental groove, root proximities, furcation involvement and tooth mobility. Then prosthetic factors, abutment selection, caries, non-vital teeth and root resorption. Classification of prognosis was proposed by Maguire and Nunn, and according to that, prognosis is good, fair, poor, questionable and hopeless. In good prognosis, control of etiological factor, enough clinical and radiographically periodontal support to enable the tooth to be maintained by the patient and clinician with proper maintenance. In fair, approximately 25% of attachment loss as measured clinically and radiographically. Class 1 furcation involvement, severity of furcation involvement would allow adequate maintenance. Poor, 50% attachment loss and class 2 furcations. The location and degree of furcation would accommodate proper maintenance, although with difficulty. Questionable prognosis, 50% greater than 50% attachment loss, poor crown to root ratio, class 2 or class 3 furcation involvement, class 2 mobility or more, and significant root proximity. Hopeless, severe attachment loss, extraction can be suggested. Now, prognosis of patient with gingivitis associated with dental plaque, good prognosis. Chronic generalized periodontitis, mild to moderate prognosis, good. And in severe, depending upon the amount of bone loss or plaque control, fair to poor. Localized aggressive periodontitis, if diagnosed early and adequate treatment is done, excellent prognosis. In advanced localized aggressive periodontitis, but still if treatment can be performed, then good prognosis. And generalized aggressive periodontitis, poor prognosis. Thank you.